9 men with no army, no money, and no royal backing walked into Jerusalem, and in just 2 centuries became a power that kings and popes feared. They called themselves the Poor Knights of Christ, yet grew richer than any kingdom in Europe. They swore to protect pilgrims, but ended up creating the world's first international banking system. They took vows of chastity and obedience, but were later destroyed on charges of devil worship and sodomy. The Knights Templar existed for 193 years and completely changed the face of Western civilization. Their dramatic end became the beginning of one of history's most enduring mysteries. What happened to their vast fortune, and what did they really discover beneath the Temple of Solomon? To understand how 9 poor knights became the medieval version of a multinational corporation, we have to go back to 1099. The Crusaders had just captured Jerusalem, but holding it proved far harder than winning it. Pilgrims from all over Europe flooded the Holy Land, and the roads turned into hunting grounds for bandits and Muslim raiders. Travelers were robbed, killed, or sold into slavery just miles from sacred sites. One Arab chronicler wrote that the roads from Jaffa to Jerusalem were so littered with bodies that you could walk on them. The kingdom of Jerusalem's army was too small to protect every path. That's when, in 1119, a French knight named Jacques de Molay and 8 of his companions offered their swords to guard the pilgrims. They were so poor they shared a single horse between 2 riders, a detail that later became the official symbol of the order. Their seal forever shows 2 knights riding 1 horse. King Baldwin II gave them quarters in the southern wing of the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which the Crusaders called the Temple of Solomon. From that moment, they became known as the Knights Templar. At first, it seemed like nothing more than a simple security force for pilgrims, but for the first 9 years, the order was wrapped in total silence. Historians still debate what these 9 men were actually doing. They didn't recruit new members, they didn't ask for donations, they barely patrolled the dangerous roads they had sworn to protect. Instead, they lived directly above the tunnels beneath the Temple Mount, the site where, according to the Bible, King Solomon's temple once stood. Ancient texts say the greatest treasures of the Jewish people, including the Ark of the Covenant, were once hidden there. Later excavations revealed a network of tunnels and clear signs of digging from exactly that period. No one knows for sure what the first Templars found. Some believe they discovered ancient documents that could shake the foundations of the church. Others think they uncovered powerful holy relics, perhaps the Ark itself or the legendary Holy Grail. And some suggest they found something far more practical, hidden gold and treasures buried long before the Crusades. Whatever they discovered, the results speak for themselves. After 9 years of silence, everything changed almost overnight. In 1128, the influential Bernard of Clairvaux personally wrote the Templar rule and gave the order his full support. Donations poured in. Nobles across Europe joined and gave their lands and wealth. What exactly did those 9 knights show or tell Bernard that made him risk his entire reputation for them? That question remains unanswered after nearly 900 years. If you have even one unsolved mystery that keeps you up at night, you know this feeling. The answer feels so close, yet it keeps slipping away. Subscribe to Science Etherics so we can explore these hidden truths together. The rule they received was strict and unforgiving. A knight could own nothing personally. Every coin belonged to the order. He could not retreat in battle, even against impossible odds, without a direct order. Hunting, gambling, jewelry, and even casual laughter were forbidden. Letters home needed permission. In return, the order gave them unbreakable brotherhood and a purpose worth dying for. The white mantle with the red cross became the most feared symbol of the Crusades. The Templars fought in every major battle in the Holy Land and earned a reputation as warriors you did not want to face. Saladin, the greatest Muslim commander of the era, respected and feared them at the same time. After the crushing defeat at Hattin in 1187, he ordered captured Templars executed because releasing such dangerous fighters was too risky. Yet even after losing Jerusalem and thousands of knights, the order refused to break. They regrouped, joined the Third Crusade with Richard the Lionheart, and kept fighting for another century. Their rule forbade surrender, and they obeyed, even when logic demanded retreat. But what's truly remarkable is that the Templars left their deepest mark not through warfare, but through finance. They basically invented modern banking centuries before the word existed. A knight could deposit gold at any Templar commandery in France and receive a coded receipt. Upon reaching the Holy Land, he could present the document and withdraw his money. The order took a small fee, and the system worked perfectly. These receipts were the first traveler's checks in history. They later expanded into loans, deposits, and even retirement funds for aging knights. Their network of commanderies stretched from Scotland to Cyprus and operated more reliably than any royal treasury. No one dared rob them. They had the Pope's protection and an army ready to respond. French kings even trusted them with state finances. The royal treasury of France was physically stored in the Paris Temple. By the late 13th century, nearly all of Europe was in debt to the Templars. They owned 9,000 estates, their own fleet, and employed around 30,000 people. Write in the comments, which country are you watching from right now? I'm curious to see where our audience is joining us from. These poor Knights of Christ had become the most powerful transnational corporation of the medieval world. In 1191, they even bought the entire island of Cyprus from Richard the Lionheart, clear proof of their enormous wealth and influence. But great wealth always attracts powerful enemies. In 1291, the last Crusader stronghold at Acre fell. The Templars lost their original purpose in the Holy Land. They moved their headquarters to Cyprus and concentrated power in Europe. Now they were extremely rich, heavily armed, and answered only to the Pope, a situation no king could tolerate for long. King Philip IV of France, deeply in debt to the order and desperate for money, saw his chance. With the help of a puppet, Pope Clement V, he planned one of the most ruthless operations in history. On Friday, October 13, 1307, sealed orders were opened across France. At dawn, thousands of Templars were arrested in a single coordinated strike. Grand Master Jacques de Molay was captured in the Paris Temple. The charges were shocking: denying Christ, spitting on the cross, worshipping an idol called Baphomet, sodomy, and secret alliances with Muslims. Under torture, many confessed. But when given a chance before papal investigators, most retracted their statements, saying they were made under unbearable pain. In 1310, 54 knights who refused to repeat the false confessions were burned at the stake outside Paris. On March 18, 1314, Jacques de Molay and Geoffrey de Charnay were led to a small island on the Seine in front of Notre Dame Cathedral. As the flames rose, de Molay proclaimed the order's innocence and cursed the king, the pope, and their advisor. He promised they would all die within a year. Pope Clement V died 1 month later. Philip the Fair died under mysterious circumstances in November 1314. His 3 sons died young with no heirs, ending the Capetian dynasty. Centuries later, as Louis XVI climbed the guillotine, legend says someone shouted, "Jacques de Molay, you are avenged!" Coincidence or the dying curse of the last Grand Master? What do you think? Drop your opinion in the comments. But the greater mystery is far more tangible. When Philip's men searched the temple treasury, they found almost no gold. The order's wealth was out in loans, investments, and coded records. Even more suspicious, just days before the arrests, several wagons covered in straw left the temple heading west toward the Atlantic port of La Rochelle, the Templars' main naval base. On the night before the arrests, the entire Templar fleet, at least 17 to 30 ships, sailed away and was never seen again in French waters. Where did they go? No one knows for sure. Some say Scotland, where they blended into local stonemason groups. Others point to Portugal, where the king renamed them the Order of Christ and preserved their power. Vasco da Gama later sailed under their cross. The boldest theory claims part of the fleet crossed the Atlantic nearly 200 years before Columbus. Even more mysterious, the entire Templar archive, contracts, maps, financial records, and possibly ancient knowledge from beneath the Temple Mount vanished without a trace. For an order famous for meticulous record-keeping, this was no accident. Official history says Philip destroyed the Templars out of greed. That's partly true, but deeper questions remain. Why did an order with 30,000 members, fortresses, and a fleet offer almost no resistance? In other countries, many were found innocent, but in France, where Philip controlled everything, they were condemned. It feels like the Templars allowed their public organization to be destroyed in order to protect what really mattered: their knowledge, connections, and hidden wealth. These may have quietly flowed into new forms: Masonic lodges, the Portuguese Order of Christ, and secret brotherhoods. The real treasure of the Templars was never just gold. It was their understanding that true power lies in systems you cannot see or easily destroy. 9 knights with almost nothing built a machine stronger than any kingdom, a machine based on trust, knowledge, and invisible networks. 700 years later, on that small island in the Seine, a quiet square still remembers Jacques de Molay. But no plaque can answer the biggest question. Why did men who had everything choose the fire instead of fighting back? And why did those who destroyed them ultimately lose everything? The stone laid by those 9 knights may still be part of the foundation of our modern world.